Welcome back to Tech Tuesdays here on Northwest Digital News with SMB Nation. Harry Brelsford and Kevin Hunter coming to you live here from both the Seattle location and from Longview, Washington. And Harry, we're going to chat about the policy reversal. We gave people a heads up on what took place with Microsoft and them pulling the IURs, and then this reversal on the policy. So if you'd start, explain for the benefit of our viewers what an IUR is and then kind of how all of this unfolded.
No, absolutely. So when you're a Microsoft reseller, a Microsoft dealer, a Microsoft partner, you join the Microsoft Partner Program and you pay to join. And let me just put that right up here. We're going to come back to the fact you paid. Okay, we're going to put that on the bookshelf. And we're going to come back to paying, but you pay anywhere from $500 to a couple $1,000s a year to be a Microsoft partner. And historically, that included benefits, as you might imagine. And one of the benefits was the Microsoft product stack. So Kevin, for the simple example, be Microsoft Windows. But, there's about another 30 or 40 things they do. But the Microsoft product stack, you got a generous allocation of licenses to use the product. And it wasn't just so much to combat honesty problems and piracy, but with the new cloud world, you have to validate. You have to license. You really
Absolutely.
Can't pirate. Yeah, and maybe that's a whole nother show for a whole nother day, whatever happened to pirates. But so what Microsoft has done over the last few years, and by the way, I feel a little qualified to talk about it. Not only am I in Seattle, but there we go. Is, I historically, back in the day, was a Microsoft MVP, Most Valuable Professional. So, I have a tight relationship with them, which I think allows me to not only talk about them, but maybe be a little bit critical. So
Harry, really quickly, I have to validate your comment by saying I have been to Microsoft with Harry, and I was stunned by how many people are like, "Hello, Harry, how you doing?" So I've been to the world headquarters. A lot of people up there know Harry.
There you go. There.
All right, go ahead.
A unique name. Let me tell you, if my name was Joe or Bob, it may not resonate as well. But in any event, for many, many years, the small and medium business partners, so SMB partners, a lot of our audience, those partners had a $500 entry fee called Action Pack, and we got roughly 5 to 10 licenses for everything. So Kevin, that's really cool because not only can I run my own company, right, for that amount of money, but we get to learn the products, right? So imagine a car dealer getting one demo car to use, maybe as an owner loaner or something, but actually get to use the car and get to know it and drive it.
Right.
And so it was in software, we call it eat your own dog food, and it all made sense. Fast forward the movie. Over the last couple of years, Microsoft has increasingly tightened the screws, for lack of a better word. And that means the benefits aren't what they used to be. The relationship's not what it used to be. Now, good for Microsoft. They just announced off the chart profitability with their new fiscal year. The prior fiscal year ended June 30th. They're off the charts. They're above $1 trillion in valuation. So all good for Microsoft, but that's not why we're here. And so the wiser minds decided to eliminate the licenses, the internal use rights, IUR. We talked about it on one of our shows a couple weeks ago. So folks, you can revisit that. But that was what we knew on that day, that they were eliminating those benefits, and there was an uproar. Remember, Kevin, we put the petition up on the screen where you could go sign, and north of 5,000 partners sign. And so then Microsoft did a reversal. And Larry Walsh on the screen at Channelnomics has some good critical analysis. He talks about long-term how the cloud computing technology will still, to some extent, disenfranchise partners in the future. Kevin, I liken it to, what if you could buy your car online and you didn't have to go to the dealer in Bremerton, Washington, right? So there's a little disenfranchisement coming, and Larry does a great job. I have a different take. So first, it felt a little bit obviously it was flawed, and then and Kevin, when they reversed themselves, and that's why we're here. Microsoft restored the internal use rights after the uproar. But what I don't like is some of the other media, a lot of the partners, were cheering Microsoft for getting something back that they already paid for and always had. And I'm like, well, that it almost felt contrived. And I know I'm going out on a limb here because I don't think it was contrived, but stick with me. It almost felt like they created a crisis so then they could come back in and say they solved the crisis and everybody cheered. And I'm like, that's the wrong paradigm, man. No, they don't get cheers. They did this.
They got a smack upside the head saying you shouldn't have done this to begin with.
Exactly. So I'm critical. I have the right to be critical. Microsoft needs ombudsman, right? They need those analysts on the outside looking in to occasionally give a little poke. But what I'm trying to do on this show today, Tech Tuesday, is establish the bigger picture. Larry Walsh does a good job over at Channelnomics, folks. He takes the big picture out a few years. Good article. But the other media was lazy, and they didn't have the big picture. It was, oh my goodness, they took away our benefits that we're paying for. And then it was like, woohoo, they restored the benefits we're paying for. So Kevin, that's why I appreciate you having me on each week, because I wanted to change the conversation. Your reaction, sir, from your time in other industries with owner dealer and franchise relationships, any fodder to throw on this fire?
I just have to believe that how quickly they reversed this decision, that it was either a strategy to do this anyway, and as you said, maybe to create a crisis and then supposedly solve it and look like good guys, for having undone their ill actions. On the flip side of this, you'd have to say, well, if that wasn't the case, then this was really an ill thought out decision. Because why would you do this and then realize it's such a dumb decision within a very short period of time immediately following it? So in my thought process, it looks like a setup. Maybe in some extent. You remember years ago when Coke changed the original recipe and came out with the new Coke? And then shortly after the original Coke was back on the shelves, you go, really? So anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking on this Microsoft policy reversal.
Yeah, I gave the analogy of it being a contrived crisis. What was that Dustin Hoffman movie? Was it Hair of the Dog or whatever, about the fake crisis to get the president elected?
Yeah. Yep.
Day of the Dog or War of the Dog or whatever. It's a good movie.
Yep.
I mean, just at face value, it's a good movie. I'm not sure Microsoft is that evil. They're a little evil, but I don't know if they're that evil. Kevin, in working with Microsoft, I would chalk it up to what is probably reality is a little bit of incompetence, a little bit of they made a mistake.
Yep.
And then they reversed it. But it's just not lost on me, right? And that's all I'm trying to do here today is say, folks, step back from that Windows keyboard, put those guns back in your holster, and just recognize that this was a brain hiccup. It was wrong. And then maybe I would leave the audience today with a handoff to Larry Walsh over at Channelnomics, because, again, what he's doing in his piece, as you see temporary reprieve, he's looking out a few years, right? And he's saying, Kevin, essentially it's not going to get better for partners, right?
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, makes total sense. And back to your point about the Dustin Hoffman movie, I open up another window here, so it's cheating a little bit in the background, but that's Wag the Dog, 1997.
Wag the Dog.
Yes. So you don't think it's a Wag the Dog situation, but them just making a not well thought out decision.
Correct. And I'm disturbed that my fellow analyst and media members, except for maybe Larry and maybe one other, but they're tooting the Microsoft horn too closely, right, Kevin? We're kind of supposed to be a little bit critical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Microsoft does not get a dozen roses for this. Why? What's going on, folks?
Yes, exactly.
I think they get a Pinocchio and they get a thumbs down.
There you go. All right, so that's our take on the Microsoft policy reversal with regard to the IURs. Thanks, Harry, for joining us here on Tech Tuesdays, and thanks to everybody who joined us here on the broadcast. Kevin Hunter with Harry Brelsford on Tech Tuesdays here on Northwest Digital News and SMB Nation. Thanks for joining us.
This concludes today's live programming on Northwest Digital News. Thanks for joining us for this special broadcast. Heard around the world in more than 70 countries on YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, Facebook, and Twitch TV. If you enjoyed a story or guest we had here on Northwest Digital News and would like to strut your stuff on the broadcast, email us today at wainfo2017@gmail.com or call or text 360-545-3501. We're always interested in unique stories, topics, and guests to share with our worldwide audience. Before you go, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and comment on the live stream. And for those of you who'd like to financially support the broadcast, you can do so at patreon.com/Northwest Digital News. We thank you for your patronage. On behalf of Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgeson, Stephanie Hunter, and all the people that made this broadcast possible, I'm Kevin Hunter. Till next time, take care.